Hello everyone, Peter Smith here. I'd just like to do a little introduction to myself in case some of you have not seen any of my YouTube videos before. I'm a pro-lifer and I've been working in the UK for the last 24 years on pro-life work. I did a little bit of that in Australia when I lived there as well. And for the last 23 years I've been coming to the UN and lobbying for different groups. I'm now representing Transatlantic Christian Council and International Right to Life Federation. And I come about 6 times a year. And that's 6 by 23 is a lot of meetings. And I follow right to life issues and religious liberties and fundamental freedoms and the family and different stuff like that. And I read about these things and watch a fair bit of other YouTube stuff from different commentators. And I follow the human rights stuff at the UN. Now, the third committee of the General Assembly handles human rights. And the Human Rights Council reports to them. So all the human rights stuff goes through this third committee. And they do about 60 resolutions in October and November. And I've been here in New York the last 2 weeks to see what they're up to. And there's a lot of stuff about refugees. Now, there was a big conference earlier this year about this declaration on the rights of refugees. President Trump pulled the US out of it, didn't want anything to do with it. It's a hot topic. Refugees, immigration, that sort of stuff. A lot of papers on that, a lot of talk about that. And as we speak, there is a caravan. Now, it's not one of those things you pull behind a car. This is, 4,000 to 6,000 people from Guatemala and Nicaragua and down around there, and they're all marching up towards the US border just in time for the midterm elections. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but I doubt it. So President Trump's putting the pressure on Mexico to stop them, and Honduras and different other countries. It'd be interesting to see how this all pans out. We'll see shortly. Now, as you probably know from my accent, I'm an Aussie. Now, the Aussies don't get many illegal immigrants coming in, because if you get in a little boat and sneak down from Malaysia and Indonesia, the RAAF and the Royal Australian Navy pick you up and pop you in an internment camp in Papua New Guinea or somewhere, and you don't get into the country. And for nearly 3 years, the people traffickers have stopped, because you can't get in that way. You have to apply for immigration. Now, I think Britain and the US might copy the Australian immigration system, because it's a very good system. And you get people who are going to be able to contribute to the country they're coming to and have skills you want and going to be able to integrate into the society they're coming to. I mean, I'm an immigrant. I came from Australia to live in Scotland. It's different. We sort of talk the same language. I'm married to a Scottish lady, but I'm still an immigrant, not against immigrants. I've been an immigrant. It's not a problem. I sort of fit in. I get teased about my accent a bit, but that's just the way I speak. Can't help it. Now, so that's a big thing, and they've got all these human rights. And I say to people, I'm a Christian, see, and this is my Bible here. I look in my Bible, can't hardly see anything about rights. Now, I've just been going through all the resolutions from last year and looking at where we're sort of at. And there's hundreds of references to human rights and all the rest of it. Nothing on responsibilities. And we get all this rights language. Well, they had one the other day, the right to food. I thought, what does this mean? If someone says, I have a right to food, does that mean you have to feed them? Does that mean you have to give them money? What does it mean? The right to health. What does that mean? You're never going to get sick? I don't think so. We're all going to die one day. Normally your heart stops. You normally die of something, unless it's an accident or something like that. But eventually, we all die. Our health runs out. Right to health. Now, I think what it means is that someone else has to pay for your health care. Not voluntarily necessarily, but governments forcing the money out of you. That's what I think it might mean. And then you have the right to development. Wow, this has a huge big document on this right to development. And I heard one of the delegates reading out a little resolution on it there this week, right to development. What does that mean? Does that mean if you're not a developed country, your rights are being breached? Interesting idea. Again, I think it's about money. Now, I'd just like to mention a little case study. It's called South Korea. You might have heard it. It's just below North Korea. Now, South Korea, they had this Korean War in the early 50s, about when I was born. And they've just got a truce. So now President Trump's trying to get the North Korean dictator to, give up on his nuclear weapons and rockets and stuff. Called him Rocket Man at the UN. All caused a great big stir. But they've been having a few talks and maybe getting on okay. Might work out. We hope it does. We hope and pray it does. But South Korea. Now, after the Korean War, the country was destitute, absolutely destitute. And they had a policy of maximising the amount of overseas development assistance they could get. And in the late 50s, they got together and thought, no, we're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to go begging for handouts. We are going to do our very best to get this country going properly. Now, the people from that area of Asia, Japan and Korea and China, some very bright people there, very talented people. And you look at South Korea today, and it's incredible. Kia cars and Samsung. I've got one, Samsung smartphones. Amazing stuff how it's going. And you ever have a look at a map of the world at night? Well, South Korea's ablaze with lights, and North Korea under the communists. It's a disaster. It's all black. The generators are turned off. Then there's nothing of a night. It's all finished. So this right to development, it's hard to know how this is all going to go. If you're getting development assistance, how much actually develops the country? One wonders. Anyway, that's some of the things they come up with, right to development. A talk on contemporary forms of slavery. Not sure quite how much is in there. Protection. Oh, yes, here's a chestnut. I'm going to miss it. It's on next week. The independent expert on protection against violence and discrimination based on SOGI, sexual orientation and gender identity. Oh, that's going to be a hot potato. Hot potato there. The Africans and the Muslims, they voted against this, but they missed out by a couple of countries. They couldn't get to stop it. They really don't want to be doing this stuff. Most of the countries of the world are not for this sort of stuff. Now they want this sort of stuff not proclaimed a pathology, whatever that means, and they want countries to give all these special rights to these people. It's not very popular. I can't see it in some countries. They have the death penalty for some of these things. It's tough. And at the other end of the scale, And the UN's pushing for these rights. See, this whole rights-based approach, my toes curl up when I hear this at the UN. A rights-based approach. I think, well, what have I got to pay for now? That's what I ask myself, because someone's got to stump up the money. And my tax from Britain will be going to different things that I probably don't agree with. So that's my idea on human rights. I don't think it's the right way to go. See, in the Bible, there's talk about responsibilities. See, we have a right to life. I believe we have a right to life because of the commandment, thou shalt do no murder. See, that's a responsibility, that we're not meant to murder people. So our right to life, I believe, is derived from the fact we're made in the image and likeness of God. And God doesn't want us slaughtering each other when we're born or unborn. Now, we have a right to private property because thou shalt not steal, which is a good thing. If you work hard and you get a house and a bit of property and stuff, government shouldn't be able to just take it off you, like they're doing in South Africa with the white farms. You don't hear much in the media about that, but that's what's happening in South Africa. Now, you also get, at these meetings, country-specific resolutions. So you get some will be criticising Israel, the Israeli-Palestinian thing, that just keeps bubbling along. Then there's Iran. They're unhappy that President Trump's slapping the sanctions back on them, and Cuba's not happy because President Trump's put the sanctions back on them. And then they're not happy with Russia because they took a bit of Crimea back, and the Ukrainians aren't happy about something else, and one will be saying one thing, and someone might criticise Venezuela, and then the Venezuelans get all upset that someone's upset with them. And it goes on and on and on, and I don't know that anything much gets changed. Well, might a little bit. One hopes things might improve, but one wonders about the UN and all the talk about all these rights and different other stuff. And, well, Winston Churchill had a good saying after he helped set up the UN with Roosevelt and Stalin, the big three, at the end of the Second World War. And in the early 50s, someone said to Churchill, "Oh, Mr. Churchill, there's a lot of talk at the UN." And he says, "Well, better jaw than war. So if they're there talking and not fighting each other in wars, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I agree with that. If that works, and if the UN stops a war, that's good. I'm happy with that. But whatever else they're going to help, hard to know. It's very, very hard to know. So I sat through 2 weeks of this stuff. Got to meet up with a few delegates I knew and sort of, how you going and how things are going. And they haven't started on the girl child and the rights of the child and the women's rights of women and blah-de-blah. And guess what? Nothing about men. Still, nothing. It's as if we don't exist. And as for white men, forget it. Forget it. We are just white, oppressive patriarchy and all this sort of jazz. Makes one wonder. I think I've been missing out on my bit of oppression lately. I don't get to do much. Can't remember doing any oppression much. But there you go. There you go. I'm one of the bad guys. So there it is. I'm heading back to Scotland tomorrow. I've got my book launch on Friday, my book on Reg. Now, I'll be doing a little bit, hopefully, on Friday or Saturday on that to Some of you might want to buy him a book on Reg, alcoholic. He became my best mate in Scotland, passed away a bit over a year ago. Promised I'd write him a book, and I got it done. I got 120 copies at home, waiting for the book launch, and hopefully we'll get rid of a few of them. So thanks very much for watching. I don't know if this has been helpful, but you've probably gathered I'm not such a big fan of all this human rights stuff, of everything all of a sudden becoming a human right. I don't know if that's the way to fix the world's problems. I think human responsibility is possibly a better way to go. But I'm probably a voice crying in the wilderness. So thank you for watching, and if you liked my little ramblings, you could share it with someone, or you can subscribe or do a like. That'll be lovely. Or you can put a comment. I'm happy to hear comments. So thanks for watching, and God bless you.